Chapter 8. The Renovation. July 23rd, 148 Festive Lane, 7:35 a.m. Michael kissed Arianna and Nicole goodbye as he was dropping David off at summer camp and then off to the job site. The last few months had been hectic at the Carter residence. Michael spent most of his time working at home and the job site while Arianna was busy caring for Nicole and David. Jack and Wanda remained a constant support channel for the Carters. Michael felt very obligated to both of them. If they only knew how little money Michael had left after the significant repairs made to the house and substantial monthly mortgage payments, they would be amazed. Even with their financial and moral support, Michael was running out of funds quickly, and except for a few minor improvements, the house was still far from being completed. As the sun shined brightly through the kitchen windows, Arianna poured herself a cup of coffee and sat at the table, making out a list of what she needed to do this day. Nicole was in her playpen positioned near the fireplace in the family room. A television played in the background. Just shy of being 3 months old, Nicole couldn't understand television, but she sure did like the movement of the lovely colors on the screen as she stared at it undaunted for several minutes at a time. Arianna finished her list. Laundry, grocery shopping, bring a few more boxes up from the basement, take Nicole for a stroll, etc. Sounds like some dull stuff for a grown woman to have to do all day long, she thought. She decided that the most critical chore on the list was to take Nicole out for a stroll before it got too hot outside. The weather in the Chicagoland area was sweltering, even for July. Today's temperature was forecasted to be in the high 90s for the 6th day in a row. Michael refused to use an air conditioner at the house for 2 reasons. The additional air conditioning would generate more cost. But more importantly, he was concerned that the wiring that was yet to be replaced in the house would not handle the increased power demand from a window air conditioner. The house did not have central air, but Michael planned on installing an air conditioning unit when he replaced the old furnace in the basement. Grabbing her keys and a bottle of water for Nicole, she was ready to get the stroller out of the garage. She lifted Nicole out of the playpen and walked out. The garage's heat was unbearable as the overhead door opened after Arianna pushed the switch on the wall. She reached to turn on the overhead light, but nothing happened. Project 224. Install a new light switch in the garage. As Arianna pushed the stroller down the street, she wished they had enough money for a second car. Michael could use a pickup truck for work and side jobs, and she needed a car to get around for the kids and, hopefully, a job in the future. Taking the bus everywhere or walking was getting to be a pain. She waited for Michael to get home from work to use the car to go shopping at least 3 times a week. Lake Forest did not exactly have a convenient store on every corner. It was a good 2-mile walk to get milk and bread. She sighed and realized that another car was out of the question, especially right now. As the sun beat down on Arianna and the stroller, Nicole started to cry. The heat was just too much for her today. There was only a light breeze in the air, and the temperature was already in the high 80s. Arianna decided to make this a short walk and go back to the house where she could at least be out of the sun. She would talk to Michael this evening about another car. Hopefully he's in a good mood, she said to herself. July 23rd, later that same day, 5:30 p.m. As the heat from this summer day continued to fill the house, Arianna tried to remain cool by sitting in front of a fan and sipping ice water. Nicole was finally asleep in her playpen and seemed content. Michael would be home any minute after having picked David up from camp. Arianna was going over all of the reasons why they must have an additional car in her head. It will help you work more efficiently, Michael. It will allow you to do more side jobs so much easier, Michael. It will make it easier for you to pick up parts and materials for the house, Michael. She paused. And it will make my life a heck of a lot easier, too. And she laughed out loud. She heard the car pull up in the driveway, and the time of reckoning was here. She took a drink of her ice water as if it was 120 proof whiskey and slammed the glass down on the kitchen counter. Michael and David walked into the kitchen from the doorway from the garage. "Honey, we have to get another car," Michael stated firmly. "What?" "This running around and getting David, no offense, David," as he rubs his head, "is getting out of control. I could have worked overtime and made some extra money, but I had to leave instead. If you took this car and I was to get a pickup truck, things would be much easier, don't you think?" "Well, Michael, I don't know," was her coy response. "Think about it. You could have the car to run errands that you now have to put off until I come home. You can't take Nicole to the park now because it's just too far. You could do that with a car. You could also do the shopping, and what if you get a part-time job? What then? How are you going to get to and from work? And in the 14-foot snows that hit this area at least twice a month, no way, not my wife. I will not have you walk 8 miles in 20-foot snowdrifts barefoot to get to work. No way. We are getting a truck," Michael stated without hesitation. 8 miles in bare feet, huh?" asked Arianna. Michael smiled back. "Well, what do you think, seriously?" "Michael, I would love nothing more than to have the use of a car during the day, but can we afford it?" she asked. "Honey, we can't afford to live here, but somehow we are doing it," responded Michael. "Then let's go out tonight and look for a used pickup truck that will serve your purposes for work," she replied. "I think that's a good idea. Oh boy, a new air-conditioned truck," Michael exclaimed. "New? Air-conditioned? The car doesn't have air conditioning, Michael. No way you will be riding around all day in the luxury of a new truck with air conditioning while I'm driving that old beat-up piece of garbage," she blasted back. "Piece of garbage? A minute ago you would have sold our daughter for that old piece of garbage," he shouted back. "Well, that was still when you would be driving this old beat-up truck with no air conditioning and fuzzy dice in the window." She started to laugh. Michael laughed as well, walked up to her and hugged her tightly. "I love you, Arianna. What do you say we get the kids to bed early and, as he raised his eyebrows. "In this heat, have you lost your mind?" she replied as she pushed him away. "Well, if you let me get air conditioning in the truck, that would solve that problem, wouldn't it?" "Michael, in the truck? Why, I never." "Well, there was that one time. Was that with you?" She smiled. "Brat, you wait. You are going to get it," he responded as he moved toward her. "Promises, promises," she said as she started to run away from Michael, who began to chase her. He tackled her as she made it to the family room. They fell to the floor next to the playpen where Nicole was sleeping. "Quiet, Michael. You will wake the baby," Arianna said in a hushed voice. "Too late. She's up," said Michael as they both looked at the playpen and saw Nicole smiling and gurgling. "Now that she's up, we might as well all eat and then take a drive over to the dealership to see what's available in a used truck," said Arianna. Michael jumped up and volunteered to grill some hot dogs and burgers. Arianna was happy to let him because it was much too hot to be cooking inside the house. After dinner, they all hopped into the car and drove over to Evanston to visit several car dealerships. After hours of looking and negotiating, they returned home empty-handed with the following revelation. "We're broke," said Michael. "Did you hear what that one guy said about my credit history? Buddy, your credit is so bad I couldn't sell you a car if you paid cash." Haha, hilarious, wise guy. "Michael, what are we going to do? We not only need a car, but we still have so much work to do in this house. I see the bills piling up. We are just falling further and further behind. We have to do something. What about a home equity loan? There is a ton of equity in the house," Arianna asked. "Hun, what do you expect me to do? Use the equity loan to make the mortgage payment and then make the equity loan payment as well? We would only be stealing from Peter to pay Paul," Michael responded. "I know that, Michael, but it would at least buy us some time." "Time for what? A slow and painful death?" Michael stated. He then looked over to David and said, "Why don't you go up to your room and watch TV for a while before bed, David? Your mother and I need to discuss a few things." David agreed and left the room. Arianna looked at Michael and said, "I don't like where this is going, Michael." "I was trying to do everything I possibly could to avoid having to do this, but I see no other choice." "We have to sell this house," Michael replied. Arianna sat down at the kitchen table and shook her head. "I know, honey. You have tried so hard to make this work. I guess we are just in over our heads. It's not like I don't make decent money, but I just can't seem to make enough," Michael said. "I know, Michael, but our promise to Martha will be broken, honey. The last time I saw Martha was at the hospital the day Nicole was born. We haven't heard from her since. I am sure she would understand our circumstances. I am not doing this to profit from Martha's generosity. I am doing it to avoid filing bankruptcy and thus lose the house regardless," he replied. "What are we going to do with the extra money we get from the sale? We already know we can sell the property for 20 times what we paid for it." "Well, maybe we can find a buyer that will try to restore the house like we wanted to," Michael said. Arianna looked around and saw walls knocked down, flooring ripped up, and remembered the 225 things to do on the to-do list. She replied to Michael, "You have got to be joking, right?" Michael also looked around and realized he was dreaming. "Yeah, I guess you're right. This place is in worse shape now than when we bought it." "Maybe we should just get our money back and give the rest to Martha. It is really hers, not ours," Arianna suggested. "I thought about that too, but I doubt she would take it. Besides, I don't think I could look that sweet old lady straight in the eye without feeling totally humiliated for letting her down like this," Michael said. "Okay, then how about this? We only take back the money we spent on the house for the purchase and the few improvements we have made. We take the balance and give it to charity. Michael, I cannot live a life of luxury knowing that money is not rightfully ours, and neither can you, whether you realize that right now or not," Arianna stated. "You're right. I wouldn't be happy either. I wanted to make it on my own. It was hard enough to accept her reduced selling price. I can't take the profits from the sale of this house and live with myself." "Okay, profits to charity and our money back to us to get a nice house in a less posh but still beautiful suburb. We can surely find a home for around $240,000 that will be just perfect, and the taxes won't be $2,500 a month," Michael said. "Agreed," said Arianna. As they got up from the kitchen table, Arianna started to cry. Michael hugged her tightly and shed a tear himself. "I know this house is a real dump, but I still love it to death," she said. "I know, honey. So do I," said Michael. They shut off the lights as they went through the house. Arianna picked up Nicole and walked upstairs to the baby's room. Michael closed and locked the front door. He was tired and despondent. He would be happy to give up the property's profits to relieve some of the stress created by the financial burden that also came along with it. The following morning, July 24th, 8 a.m.
"Esposito Real Estate Brokers, how can I help you?"
said the voice on the other end of the phone. Michael replied from the phone in the kitchen as he sat at the kitchen table, "I would like to sell my house." The receptionist at the real estate office replied,
"One moment, please, and I will have someone assist you right away. Please hold."
Michael continued to drink his coffee and waited. After several minutes of on-hold music, he was greeted in the following manner. "This is Thomas Clark. I understand you would like to sell your property." "Yes, I need to put my house up on the market and sell it as soon as possible," Michael replied. "Well, we will do our best, Mr. Thomas asked. "It's Mr. Carter, but you can call me Michael," he replied. "Okay, Michael. Where exactly is this property located?" "The address is 148 Festive Lane in Lake Forest." There was a silence on the other end of the phone. "Hello? Are you there?" Yes, I'm still here. Did you say 148 Festive Lane?" Thomas asked. "Yes, that's correct." Thomas could not believe his ears. This was the same property that crazy old lady asked him to sell just 6 months earlier. "So you're the party that purchased the property from that strange old bird, Martha Kennedy, right?" Thomas asked. "Yes, that's right. She is a sweet old lady and gave us the opportunity of a lifetime with the deal she extended to us for this property. But I just can't afford to maintain it," Michael replied. "Guess you should have torn it down and built something new like most interested buyers I brought to the property wanted to do," Thomas replied smugly. "You have been here before, Mr. Clark?" "Yes. I was one of the many realtors that represented Martha when she first put the property up for sale. She had this off-the-wall idea that someone would purchase the home, fix it up, and live there forever. What kind of idiot would do that?" "Well, to be perfectly honest, Mr. Clark, I am that kind of idiot." "Oh, sorry about that. I thought you bought the property as an investment and you were having problems maintaining it because of lack of time," Thomas replied. Don't apologize, Mr. Clark. The problem is a lack of time, but more so a lack of money. I was an idiot thinking I could fix this place up on my income. I must have been dreaming," Michael responded. "Out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking, what did you end up paying for the property? 4.1 million, 4.2? $200,000, replied Michael, but he heard no response from Thomas. "Hello? Are you there, Mr. Clark?" Finally, after taking several deep breaths, Thomas answered, "Yes, Michael, I am here. I am just completely floored by what you just said. $200,000? I just can't believe it. You do realize what that property is valued at, don't you?" "Yes, Mr. Clark, I am fully aware of what the value of this property is estimated at," Michael said. "You're going to make a very handsome profit, Mr. Carter. What do you say I drop by in about 20 minutes to sign the listing papers and go over the marketing criteria for the property?" "I guess that would be fine, Mr. Clark. I've got the day off due to waiting for some materials to show up at a job site, so I am available until I hear that they have arrived." "Great. See you in about 20 minutes, then." Michael said goodbye and hung up the phone. He started to question his decision to sell the house for a profit, even though he would give the proceeds to charity. He thought about Thomas's comment about Martha being a strange old bird. In Michael and Arianna's opinion, Martha wasn't weird or crazy the way that Thomas implied. She was good-hearted and kind. Michael didn't want to break his promise to Martha if he could help it. He would have to talk to Thomas about the conditions of the sale. Meanwhile, after hanging up with Michael, Thomas made another quick phone call. "Cesario Developers, this is Tony," answered the person on the other end. "Mr. Cesario, this is Thomas Clark over at Esposito Real Estate Brokers. You had shown interest in a property I was showing about 6 months ago. I was calling to see if there may still be an interest at this time." "That would depend on which property you were talking about now, wouldn't it, Mr. Clark?" Mr. Cesario responded. 148 Festive Lane, in Lake Forest, that beat-up old house on 4 acres of prime real estate. Do you remember it?" Thomas asked. "Remember it? Ha! I offered that nutty old lady 4 times the asking price for the land, and she turned me down flat. What happened? Couldn't she find a buyer, and now she's ready to deal?" "No, actually, she did sell the property. However, the current owner is in way over his head and has to sell due to financial problems," Thomas replied. Sounds like a desperate seller. What do you think I can purchase the property for?" "Well, that depends on what I tell the seller he should ask for," Thomas replied. "I could tell him to ask for the full asking price of 4.3 million again, or you could tell him to ask for, let's say, 3.8 million. Then I would give you $200,000 for your effort, and thus you would have saved me $300,000 on the whole deal. Something to that effect, Mr. Clark?" "Yes, something to that effect, Mr. Cesario," replied Thomas. "Okay, let's say I meet you over at the property in about 45 minutes. We can work out the terms after the seller accepts my offer. I won't screw you out of your share, Mr. Clark. I can be trusted when it comes to a scam." "See you in about 45 minutes, Mr. Cesario. Nice doing business with you," Thomas said as he hung up the phone. 148 Festive Lane, 8:30 a.m. About 25 minutes passed since Thomas talked with Michael as he pulled into the driveway at 148 Festive Lane. He got out of his car, walked up the front walkway, and knocked on the storm door. "Hello, anyone home?" With Nicole in her arms, Arianna came to the door. "Can I help you?" "Hi, I'm Thomas Clark from Esposito Real Estate Brokers. I believe your husband called and asked that I stop over. Are you Mrs. Carter?" he asked. "Yes, I am. My husband called you?" "Yes, Mrs. Carter. It was about 30 minutes ago," Thomas replied. Michael, covered in paint chips, suddenly appeared at the door behind Arianna. "Mr. Clark, I'm sorry about that. I was upstairs scraping some walls. Please, come in." Arianna strangely looked at Michael. Apparently she had no knowledge that Michael had already called a realtor. She realized they had talked about selling the house the night before, but she didn't expect Michael to list it the next day. "Michael, are you sure about this?" Arianna asked. "It's the only choice we have, Arianna. I will see if Mr. Clark can sell the house and still allow us to satisfy our commitment to Martha," Michael whispered to her so Thomas would not hear. Thomas entered the foyer and looked toward the dining room area, where the walls were stripped of the ugly flocked wallpaper. Unfortunately, several massive holes and rotted wood laths used to support plaster walls in older homes were now in plain view. Michael saw Thomas looking at the walls. "When I ripped down the old paper, some of the wall came with it. A little plaster here and there, and it will be as good as new." Thomas looked at Michael and raised his eyebrows. "Well, it doesn't matter what shape the house is in. The new owner will tear it down and build a brand new home here regardless. It's the property that's worth a decent amount of money, not this decrepit old house." Arianna took Thomas's comments personally and could not hold back her anger. "Listen, Mr. Clark, we love this dilapidated old house, and we still live here, so mind your manners." "Sorry, Miss Kennedy. Mrs. Carter. I didn't mean to offend you personally. I am just realistic," Thomas said with a snide grin. Thomas saw the tension in Arianna's face and intervened. "Why don't we sit down and calmly discuss what you have in mind, Mr. Clark?" As Thomas walked over to the Carter's glass and marble dining room set, he pulled out one of the upholstered chairs and sat down. "First of all, I need you to sign this listing contract, Mr. and Mrs. Carter," and he slid it in front of Michael. Michael stopped for a moment. "Let's discuss the conditions of the sale first, Mr. Clark. I may only be a simple carpenter, but I don't sign anything without reading it over and consulting my attorney first." "What's there to discuss, Michael? You list your house with me. I sell your house for the acceptable amount you have agreed to. You pay me a 7% commission, and we all walk away with a little more money in our pockets. What could be better? Here's a pen," Thomas said as he handed Michael a pen and urged him to sign. "Wait a minute, Mr. Clark. You don't seem to understand. It's not that simple. You see, my wife and I made a promise to Martha. If we were forced to sell this house, we would try our very best to resell it to someone who, like us, wanted to fix it up and live here," Michael stated. "You have got to be pulling my leg," said Thomas. "Are you people as crazy as she is? You can sell this house for 10 times what you paid for it. I have a buyer on his way over here that will make you a very generous offer. I suggest you accept it and get your life back before it's too late." "A buyer? On the way here already?" asked Arianna. No wonder you're in such a hurry to have us sign this listing contract. A couple of signatures, and 10 minutes later you pocket a nice little commission. Isn't that right, Mr. Clark? Hey, lady, your husband said he needed to sell this property as soon as possible. I didn't waste any time getting a buyer set up. You can't blame me for that. I am just doing my job. Michael stood up and leaned over Thomas. He calmly said, Mr. Clark, if you ever talk to my wife like that again, I will shove this pen down your throat and then use your body like a sledgehammer to take down that wall. Do you understand me? I apologize for my remarks, Mr. Carter. I only explained how I was just doing as you requested, Thomas responded. Shall we continue our conversation in a civil and orderly fashion? Yes, Mr. Carter, that would be okay, sir. As Michael and Arianna explained to Thomas how they really must at least attempt to sell the house according to Martha's wishes, Thomas was trying to act as if he was genuinely interested and concerned. They talked for many minutes, and Thomas was nervous that Mr. Cesario would show up before signing the listing contract. After a few more minutes of pleading their case to Thomas, Arianna said, Now, you can either accept our terms of the sale of this house, or we will find another realtor. Or maybe we will just offer the home to your buyer ourselves. Buyers don't sign agreements, only the seller. Your buyer can purchase from us directly, and we could save him from paying your commission. Would that be better for you, Mr. Clark, or can we at least try it our way for a few weeks first? I guess a few weeks wouldn't hurt. I still think you are both being unrealistic, but if that's what you want to do, then so be it, Thomas replied. At that point, Thomas would agree to anything just to have gotten the contract signed. He could see that Michael was very desperate. He knew he could convince him to sell the property to a buyer with a reasonable offer. Arianna would be the problem as far as Thomas was concerned, but he would deal with her when the time came. Suddenly, there was a knock on the storm door. Thomas jumped up out of his chair. Now, wait 1 minute. That is my buyer, and unless you sign this listing contract, I cannot allow you to talk with him. Michael replied, Thomas, sit down. This is a free country, and I can speak to whomever I wish. If this buyer is truly interested in purchasing this house because he wants to renovate it and then live in it, I will be happy to sign your little contract. But if he wishes to tear this house down and build a new one here, he will have to wait until we have exhausted all other possibilities. I am not saying that I won't sell to someone that wants to tear this old place down. I am saying I want to try to sell it the way Martha requested. Can you understand that, Thomas? Sure. Why not? But just in case you change your mind, the asking price should be $4.5 million and not a penny less. He figured if he was going to have to wait a few extra weeks, he might as well get a better payoff from Mr. Cesario. $4.5 million sounds very reasonable, Thomas. We can get back our investment into this house and donate the balance to charity. The doorbell rang. Arianna looked at Michael as if to ask, Are we ready? And Michael answered her look with a nod. Arianna walked to the front door and unlocked the storm. A large, stocky man outside the door asked, Are you Mrs. Carter? Yes, please come in. We have been expecting you, Arianna replied. The man, dressed in a very nice two-piece suit and carrying a briefcase, entered the house and stopped once inside the foyer. Well, you have a lovely home. It seems like you are in the middle of making some costly improvements. Yes, we are actually a bit too expensive. I guess that's why you were here, Arianna replied. Yes, it looks like I got here at just the right time, he responded. As Arianna led the man into the dining room, she started to make introductions. This is my husband, Michael. Hi, pleased to meet you, Michael said as he stood and extended his hand. Pleasure to meet you, Michael, the man responded. Arianna turned her attention to Thomas. And this, of course, is Thomas Clark, but you already knew that. Why, no, I didn't know that, but hello, Mr. Clark. Pleased to meet you as well, the man replied. Haven't the two of you ever met before? Michael asked. Thomas answered, I met Mr. Cesario only once before. It was over 6 months ago when he first came to this house and made a bid. I can see how he might not recognize me, but I never forget a face. It's a sales thing. Always remember a buyer's face, no matter what the circumstance. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, Mr. Clark, but we have never met. Additionally, I am not Mr. Cesario, the man said as he looked down his nose toward Thomas. Oh, my God, said Arianna. Then, if you don't mind me asking, who are you? Not at all, Mrs. Carter. My name's John Haber. I am Miss Kennedy's attorney. We met briefly at the closing for this house. However, unlike Mr. Clark, I am without a photographic memory, and thus I must confess that I do not recognize either you or your husband. What's this about, Mr. Haber? Is Martha okay? Asked Michael. Well, Mr. Carter, I'm sorry to say that Martha passed away a few months ago, he replied. Arianna's eyes involuntarily started to tear. Oh, no, that sweet old woman has died? Yes, Mrs. Carter, I'm afraid so. She passed away on May 1st. Michael, that's Nicole's birthday. How coincidental is that? Coincidental isn't the word that came to my mind. Spooky is more like it. I could have sworn I saw Martha at the hospital that very same day. How did Martha die? She passed away in her sleep peacefully. They rushed her to Good Samaritan Hospital early that morning, but there was nothing they could do, Mr. Haber replied. Suddenly, the grandfather clock in the dining room chimed 9 times. It was now 9 a.m. Thomas knew that Mr. Cesario would be there any minute and decided to hurry Martha's attorney along. Well, listen, we are all really broken up about Martha dying and everything, but I'm afraid we are expecting a buyer for this house to arrive at any minute, so I guess it's time you got on your way. Sorry, no offense, but unless it's at the closing, I get a bit nervous when a buyer and an attorney are in the same room. Have a lovely day, and thanks for coming by, Thomas said as he tried to usher Mr. Haber out of the house by tugging at his arm. Mr. Clark, will you please be quiet and sit down? Arianna said. Mr. Haber smiled. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Actually, I have come here today representing the estate of Miss Kennedy. She contacted me a few days after the closing and asked me to rewrite her will to include both of you. This will only take a few minutes. Do you mind? He asked. No, by all means, please sit down, said Michael, as he watched Thomas walk over to the hole-ridden dining room wall and bang his head against it. What seems to be his problem? Asked Mr. Haber as he motioned toward Thomas. He's having a bad day, and I think he just realized that it's about to get a whole lot worse, Michael replied. Mr. Haber took a seat at the dining room table. As he started to pull documents out of his briefcase, he noticed the listing contract lying on the table. He picked it up. I don't think you'll need this anymore, Mr. Carter. He continued to gather his papers and produced an envelope with a wax seal at the seam. First of all, this is a private reading of Martha's estate. I am going to have to ask you to leave, Mr. Clark. Sure, okay. I will go outside and have a cigarette, Thomas said as he walked out of the dining room and out of the house. Mr. Haber continued, Strange fella, isn't he? All right, now back to the matter at hand. I need to see a valid driver's license or other proof of your identities. Michael pulled his wallet out of his back pants pocket as Arianna walked to the kitchen to retrieve her purse. They both produced newly issued Illinois state licenses due to having just moved from Nevada. That's fine. I have been instructed to read you this letter from Martha. I must pretense this letter by telling you that although Martha did not appear wealthy, she was very wealthy indeed. She had no living relatives to leave her substantial estate to. However, she was extremely generous when it came to major charities. She willed the majority of her estate to these charities. I apologize for the delay in contacting you. The charity's distribution took more time than anticipated. You have been left a small portion of her wealth. But I don't want you to get your hopes up and think it's a great deal of money. Is that understood?" he asked. "Yes, we understand," answered Michael. "Okay, then. Here is the letter that Martha wanted me to read to the both of you," Mr. Haber said, as he opened the letter and broke the wax seal. "Dear Michael, Arianna and David, and infant baby girl."
It was a girl, wasn't it? How are you? I hope you are doing well with my old house on Festive Lane. I do miss it so. I am writing you this letter, being of sound mind and body. If it is being read to you as I requested, then I have long since passed away by now. If not, then my attorney is a boob and is reading this to you while I am still alive.
Guess I could have skipped that part. She continues to say, "I hope that your baby was born healthy. I know she will grow up to be as beautiful as her mom and as loving and caring as her father."
I also hope that David is enjoying his new home as well. Tell him that every spring a female cardinal lays eggs in a nest in the tall oak tree near the brook in the backyard. He might enjoy seeing that. I was so concerned about the two of you when I left the closing that day. I decided to include you in my will because I didn't want to see you give up. You seemed so discouraged and defeated. I couldn't let you get to the point of having to sell the house before you even discovered why you bought it from me in the first place. You will experience that purpose shortly. Hopefully, this letter and my attorney have gotten to you before it is too late. If I would have had grandchildren, they would have been the both of you. Michael, you are an unyielding and determined individual. The kind of man that can do whatever it is he sets his mind to accomplish. Arianna, you are Michael's support that keeps him going when he is ready to give up. You two were meant for each other. I have never seen two people so much in love. Your relationship is divine. Well, I must be going now. My attorney will tell you the rest. God loves you and blesses you. As long as you have each other, it doesn't matter where you are. You will always be in paradise.
Have a beautiful life, Martha. Mr. Haber stopped reading and handed the letter to Michael, who was all choked up from the warmth and loving comments Martha stated. As Michael and Arianna hugged each other, Mr. Haber continued. "As I said, Martha was very wealthy, although why she never used any of it to fix this old house is beyond me. She lived like a pauper and had the means to live like a queen. Her estate was worth $250 million. She donated all but the amount of these 2 checks to several charities." As he stood, he handed the checks to Michael. Arianna looked over to view the checks and started to cry as she placed her hands over her face. Michael began to shake as he read the amounts out loud. "One check is for $199,999, the exact amount we paid for this house. The other check is for $950,000. It has a notation for repairs already and soon to be done, funds for the children's college education, and enough to pay ever-increasing property taxes," Michael said in a trembling voice, barely controlling his emotions. "It's not usually proper to say congratulations when awarding gifts from the deceased, but what the heck, she called me a boob. Congratulations, you two," said Mr. Haber. Arianna broke a smile through her tears and laughed softly. She stood and hugged Mr. Haber. Michael stood as well and shook the attorney's hand once again. As they stood motionless and in total disbelief, Mr. Haber asked them to sign some papers that verified that they had accepted the checks. Once signed, he placed the documents in his briefcase and closed it. "Well, my business here is concluded. Best of luck to you, Mr. and Mrs. Carter. I will show myself out. Have a good day." said Mr. Haber as he departed through the dining room and into the foyer. As Mr. Haber walked out the front door, he could see Thomas smoking a cigarette a few feet away from the street. Thomas spotted him as he approached his car, threw his cigarette to the ground, and ran over. "Mr. Attorney, hey, wait a minute," shouted Thomas. Mr. Haber continued to walk and opened his car door. As he arrived at the car, he said to Thomas, "Can I help you, Mr. Clark?" "Yeah, so what's the deal with the will? Are the Carters wealthy now, or what?" "Put it this way, Mr. Clark. I doubt seriously that they will be selling this house any time soon. And, by the way, I would brush up on that memory course if I were you. My name is Mr. Haber, not Mr. Attorney. I remembered your last name, Mr. Clark, and I bet I have a good 20 years on you. Good day, sir," Mr. Haber replied. Mr. Haber got into his car and drove away as Thomas stood there dumbfounded. Within a few seconds, another car pulled up. The driver shouted out of the car, "Hey, Clark, is that you?" Thomas turned back toward the car and did recognize the driver as Mr. Anthony Cesario this time. "Mr. Cesario, you're a little late," Thomas said. "Sorry about that, kiddo. I had to talk to a client that wants to build a house on this property. So, are they ready to deal or what?" he asked. "I'm afraid not. They just inherited a substantial amount of money from that crazy old lady that used to own this house. Sorry, Tony, but the deal is off. Maybe next time," Thomas said. Tony got out of his car and grabbed Thomas by the lapels of his suit jacket. "Listen, stupid. I just locked in a major client to pay me $7 million to build him an estate on this property. You better convince these idiots to sell. There is a lot of money at stake here. You understand me?" "Mr. Cesario, they aren't going to sell. They want to keep the property and live here. There is something weird about this house. Stay away from it. It's not worth it," Thomas replied as he tried to get loose from Tony's vice-like grip. Tony let go of Thomas's lapels as he threw him back against the car. "Well, mark my words, these people will sell me this property one of these days. I learned a long time ago that if you can't buy something from someone, you just take it away," Tony shouted. "Hey, wait a minute, Tony. These are nice people. Don't do anything that would hurt them," Thomas said. "I'm not into hurting people, Mr. Clark, except maybe the occasional realtor. I just always get what I want. That's all. It may take a few years, but I'll get this property if I have to burn it down to the foundation," Tony shouted as he walked back to his car. As he pulled away, the tires squealed, and he yelled at Thomas. "See you around, hotshot. Don't swim with the sharks. They are liable to tear you to pieces. Ciao." Thomas sat down on the street's curb and took a deep breath. He tried to regain his composure before returning to the house to retrieve his briefcase and wish the Carters a good day. Thomas was greedy and money-hungry, but he was not a violent criminal. He wasn't sure whether Tony was just mouthing off out of frustration, or if he would seriously consider burning down the house that now stood at 148 Festive Lane. He decided not to tell the Carters about the incident, and hoped Tony was just bluffing.